It was early in the morning when I was awakened by a low sound and rumble. Somehow in my sleepiness, I knew what was happening. I knew the cruise ship must be docking in Athens, the beginning of the last day of our journey, traveling the footsteps of Paul. I hurried out of my cabin to the upper deck. It was getting light, but the sun was not yet peeking over the horizon. I took pictures of the beautiful dawn and the birds flying. As I took pictures and soaked in the beauty of God's creation, I slipped into the dining room to get a cup of coffee, and a lovely young woman served me coffee. Her name tag said Sophia, and so I thanked her for the coffee and told her she was a wise woman. She smiled, knowing that Sophia is Greek for wisdom. Since I have a niece named Sophia, I told her about that and asked if I could take her picture. With my coffee in hand, I went back up to the upper deck to watch as dawn turned into sunrise. It was a glorious morning. Later that day, as we were eating our last supper together as a group at the end of our tour, I got a message that my mother, Ruth Dawn, had died that morning in Colorado. I left the table and went out into the street. There on the street was a single bird standing there on the street. As tears filled my eyes, I thought of my mom, Ruth Dawn. And I thought of the promise of dawn, the promise of new and everlasting life, the promise of Easter, the promise that in Jesus, death is not the end. Later, as I looked back at those pictures I took that early morning, there was one of the dawn with a solitary bird flying over the Aegean Sea. That moment and that snapshot will forever remind me of my beautiful mother, Ruth Dawn, in the beautiful promise of dawn.